going on, people? Welcome to United View. Happy Friday. Welcome to the morning view with myself and Owen. Hope you guys are doing good, man. The weather is continuing to weather. Another successive day of nice warm weather. I've got my window wide open, sun shining. It's not too hot, but it's nice. It is really nice. So big up to the weather here in the UK if you're experiencing that. Big up to the weather if you experience it on a normal day where it's just light work for you. That's just what it is. So big up to each and every single one of you. I've liked, even though I probably won't like, because that's our season, says George Smith. Oh gosh, interesting. Ask yourselves this question, says Joe Blackman. Have I hit the like button? It's a big question Joe Blackman's asking you, and it is a very...
I'll put a poll in the chat to ask the same question. Have you hit the like button?
Poll. Exactly, because if you haven't, do that right now on the way. And we've got 57 likes straight away, 266 of you watching. We've got a big... I tell you what, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we was going through the different topics and the news reports from yesterday into this morning. And I tell you what, there is a lot. We're going to be talking about Sir Jim wanting answers. He wants to take a deep dive into this injury crisis at Man United and work out what the bloody hell's going on. A whole investigation, really, for it. And the squad's down in the dumps. They feel as if they're not going to win another game for the rest of the season. They feel as if Ten Hag's as good as sacked. The morale's down. Poor them. Oh, these players. So we've got a lot to talk about with a lot of sources and a lot of quotes from that as well. So do like the video. Do subscribe to the channel. And top right-hand corner, pinned in the chat as well. Follow us on Playback as well. I'm going to be starting up my FIFA career mode on Playback as well. I know you guys
we were having a chat. We were having a chat about that last night. Me and Flex, we were saying about, we'll do stuff on Playback, and Flex is going to play FIFA on there. Jurgen Fleck by himself. It's going to be very interesting to see if you're held down by KG the comedian.
Exactly.
We shall see. Go over to Playback to find out about that. Also, as well, possibly as soon as this weekend, I might just do a little watch along, little match view of something that isn't a Man United match. Maybe on a Saturday, maybe tomorrow when the Premier League's playing. I'll go, you know what? Let's just have a relax. Let's watch a game together, something like that. Go to Playback, find out. You never know what's going to happen.
Extra stuff. It's all part of Playback. So join the community. It's all extra. Everything you get here is here. Will never change. But if you just want extra little dosage of Fleck or Owen or KG or all of us or whatever it is, join it. Some good stuff coming up. Right, Owen, let's get into this.
Injuries.
Let's get into this because
injuries. Yes, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he's demanded an investigation, Flex, on top of the existing investigation into the injury crisis at Manchester United. Now, this comes from David McDonald from The Mirror. It's saying Manchester United chief Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants a fresh investigation launched into the causes of the club's chronic injury crisis this season. Although United conducted an internal review into the reasons for the unprecedented number of injuries, minority shareholder Ratcliffe, who now runs the football side of the club, wants a fresh look at the issue. Ratcliffe has seen no improvement in the situation since completing his £1.3 billion investment in United at the start of 2024 and wants a comprehensive and forensic assessment of the matter. Ratcliffe knows United cannot afford to have so many key players sidelined for weeks on end if the club is to have any chance of challenging for major trophies again. The Ineos billionaire believes more can be done to prevent such a glut of injuries and will commission a thorough investigation into the issue that has wrecked Manchester United's season. The investigation will include scrutinizing Ten Hag's training methods, schedules, and how intense his sessions have been. The running distances of the players will also be looked into, along with data relating to how much pressure is put on them before, during, and after matches. United played 62 games last season, which also included the Winter World Cup. Ten Hag feels the cumulative effect of so many games, including a major tournament in the middle of the season, has been a factor in why United have suffered so many injuries. But senior figures at United believe there must be other factors apart from the general workload and the punishing fixture schedule that are causing players to break down on such a regular basis. Ratcliffe and his newly installed football operations team are determined to get to the bottom of the issue to give United the best chance of getting back to the top again. Now, just a little bit from another article, because again, this is clearly something that's being discussed across several outlets. Comes
We're not
from
making
Nathan
it up.
No,
This is
no,
the news.
from Mail Sport. It's saying there has been a strong feeling among some sources that spoke to Mail Sport that the intensity of Ten Hag's training, particularly for players returning from lengthy layoffs, has played a factor in re-aggravation. The number of high-intensity sessions is also irksome. Ten Hag has dismissed those claims when pressed on them, insisting he needs robust players to win at the top level. One source put it down to the accumulation of games post-COVID finally catching up with United, pointing out only Barcelona could compete with the 62 games United were put through last season. So, as is always the case with all this kind of stuff, Flex, there's a variety of different thoughts and processes, I guess, that people, or reasons rather, that people are putting down to this injury crisis that Manchester United are having when it's coming to the workload put on the players in terms of the matches that Manchester United have played, the Winter World Cup. There's other people looking at the intensity of training sessions, tactics, running, the medical department, how they're reintegrating players after injuries and how they're preventing them from re-aggravating said injuries. I guess one positive coming out of all of this, right, is that Jim Ratcliffe's going, look, enough's enough. We need to figure this out because this is just not sustainable and we can't be having this moving forward.
It's not on. It's not on, exactly. The bit where it said they believe that, well, it can't just be the fact that there's been a grueling schedule, because many people have had a grueling schedule. Many players were at that, mid-season World Cup and stuff like that. It's one factor. You can't overlook that. But ours is excessive. Ours, we've never seen anything like it. We've never seen anything like it. And as much as we want to say stupid players, they don't want to work hard enough, always moaning about how hard training is, we need to, if you're coming in and you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe and you want to strip this thing down and work out what's going on, you need to look at that as well. You do need to look at the load management. You do need to look at the recovery times. You do need to look at the intensity of the training. Now, I'm not suggesting that players shouldn't be working hard in training. Of course not. Bare minimum of being a footballer at any level, especially the top. So that's one thing. But if we have got loads of games and have had loads of games, any manager will tell you, any coaching staff, any physical fitness guys and fitness coaches will tell you, that there does need to be a level of recuperation. It's just science, like that. You can't push too hard. And then you need to know your individuals. You need to know your players. You need to, back in the day, I know it sounding old here and everything's changed with all sports science and all of the different technologies that are used, but, certain players can do more than others. Certain players are better trainers than others. Some of the best players sometimes aren't the best trainers. And some of the, I don't want to be rude and say the worst players, but some of the players who aren't top level talent are sometimes the most phenomenal trainers, never give up, always playing well, always doing the right things in training. It's just how it goes. So I think Sir Jim and Sir Dave Brailsford and the Ineos team that are coming in, the people that are in charge of sorting this out or getting to the bottom of it, absolutely need to do that. And nobody should take offense to it. Ten Hag shouldn't get his back up and say like, oh, so you're saying it's me and with my training methods are fine and this, that, and the other, which I'm not saying he is. I'm saying he shouldn't be doing that. And also, they shouldn't overlook the fact that, we have played a lot of games. But when you look at other teams' injuries and stuff, it has happened across the board. So you could say the same inquest at Chelsea, and they didn't play anywhere near as much games as we've been playing.
Yeah.
Why were all their players getting all these big injuries? So it is a look at Newcastle. Last season, they didn't play as much games as we did, but the accumulation into this season, they've been absolutely plagued. So it has been a real thing. Liverpool lost a lot of players as well at one point. So that's why they have to kind of measure it up that with the current climate versus your individual situation.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. The part in the article from the Mail as well spoke about the medical team at Manchester United, Gary O'Driscoll, the head doctor, head of sports science, whatever his title is, that they hired from Arsenal. And obviously lots of people have been pointing at him going, well, you've come in and it's not been great. It must be stressed. It was bad before he came in as well, but he's not made it any better. And in that article, they were sort of saying that he's just as sort of trying to spearheading it the same thing. Actually, it was a really interesting part of it was them saying that, according to their sources, whether you believe them or not, that he's pushing Manchester United to hire younger or at least more progressive people in sort of the sports science medical field, basically saying, we can't be stuck in the past when we're coming to treating injuries or preventing injuries or injury recovery and what have you, because football's changing, football's evolving. The workload and the amount of games, that's kind of not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. It should. The amount of games that are being added on at an international level or at a club level for mundane competitions, that weren't even that important previously. The Club World Cup's being expanded, or more games being added into, things like the Champions League or the Nations League, or even with, European Championships coming up this summer. More teams are in it. There never used to be in it as well, right? So you're playing more games. So he's sort of saying, look, we need to be more progressive with this. Carrington's getting a big upgrade in the summer as well, partially for that kind of reason, being like, we need to be more modern. We need to be more modern because we're falling behind as it is, let alone when it comes to sort of injury prevention. But I think, unfortunately, the answer to the injury thing it's just very nuanced, isn't it? There's lots of different points of failure. I don't think there is one thing, and that's why you have to do like an investigation into it to find out truly what's going on, because you'll probably find the outcome is there's lots of different points. Obviously, like you say, it's a football-wide thing because lots of people have been struggling with injury. So Manchester United aren't alone. Manchester aren't alone in that regard. But at the same time, whilst it is a football-wide issue, clearly other clubs are dealing with it better or handling it better. So why are they handling it better? Why are they dealing with it better? Is it just because they just have a better medical department than Manchester United? Might be part of it. Is it because they're training smarter than Manchester United and more efficiently than Manchester United? Probably going to be a part of it. Is it due to their tactics that they play on a Saturday and a Sunday midweek? It's not as intense. If you've got a lot of the ball, you're not having to do as much running and you're not having to constantly press people. If it's massive gaps in midfield, you're not running end to end all the single time.
Those things definitely ain't helping us.
Obviously, that plays a part in it as well. So it's lots of different factors. The key thing, like the article says, is that it is not sustainable. You cannot compete and win major honors and trophies if you've constantly got half your teams out with injury. And then, oh, by the way, when they do come back, either someone else drops out or they drop out again because they've been rushed back because you've still got injuries of people you're trying to replace. So look, something needs to be done. And I think that's the key thing. Something needs to be done. And hopefully it is being done. And hopefully it's not one of those things. Yeah, it's one thing to investigate it and get to the answers. Then you have to actually put those into effect. That you can't just be like, oh, we found out. Did you fix it? It was quite difficult to fix that one. Because if we're in the same position next season and we're like, we've had all these players out injured, then you'll be like, what's been done?
Yeah. And it'd be interesting with Eric Ten Hag's sort of training methods to be like, well, has he changed his training? Is he training any harder than he was last year? Like and this is just this section of it is about the coaching staff side of it, the load they're putting on the players. Are they working on things more? Are they, because what you could argue is that, okay, because there was more games last year, you did less on the training ground in terms of pushing. Now we've had bigger gaps between games for some parts of the season. We went out of the Champions League in December. So from the turn of the new year, you didn't have that to contend with. We went out the Carabao Cup in the second game, didn't we, to Newcastle?
Yeah.
We beat Palace and then we drew Newcastle, then we lost. So we was out of that fairly early. So it was only really the FA Cup and then whatever Premier League games there are. So you could, one theory could be that, well, actually we can push the players more now because there's more
less
space
games.
To do it. There's less games, but actually have you then pushed too hard that, like you said, coupled with your playing style or what's happening on the pitch where we're open and got to do loads of sprints and recoveries and that and the other. And then results have been bad. So you also not going to take it too easy in terms of the load because they've been performing badly. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to say, that 3K, what we got to do today, we're not going to do that because no, you're losing games. You're seeing people not working hard enough in games. You're seeing people switch off mentally. You're seeing people not put it in physically. So you kind of want to push them a bit harder in training because you've got the space to. If I'm looking at it, I think there's something there with that. That's just I am not there. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. This is just my theory of, I reckon there will be a little bit of that going on. And then, of course, let's not forget this. Let's look at some of the players we have. They're just really injury prone.
Yeah, injury prone, or take better care of
You know what
yourself.
I mean? Take
You're
better care. What are
you're a
you doing
professional
out of
athlete.
games? Yeah,
Absolutely.
so it's a mixture of we've Luke Shaw's always been injured, no matter what manager it is.
Hmm.
Varane's always had injuries, no matter it's Man United or Real Madrid. Martial has been injury prone for about 3 years now, really, where he really got into his injury prone bag. Rashford was carrying something for quite a while, refused to get it done. He's done his back in. Has he really recovered from that? I'm not excusing his performances, by the way. But those are some of the ones. But then you've got the mitigating ones where you're like, but then players who are never injured really are getting injured.
Well,
Harry
When
Maguire's class,
Bruno
but Bruno never
when
misses
Bruno
any.
missed that game on Monday, that was truly the canary down the coal mine, isn't it? Of like something is
Okay.
going really wrong.
But even with him,
Yeah.
though, you say, well, it's the first game he's missed in his whole career. Like,
Well,
whenever
that's
he
the
does
point.
sustain, yeah, but you can, like, to go, how many games has Bruno played in his career? Probably way over 300, isn't it? Really easily. About
Mm.
probably 400 or 500, maybe. I don't know
And you
by now.
think he'll probably play Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone can not be in them pictures training and we get the
Mm.
presser today, Eric will say, he's just come back to training today. We'll see how he is tomorrow. If anyone could do that, it's him. And we wouldn't worry.
Or even not even that. Just like he hasn't
Just
trained
play on
all week.
Sunday.
We'll see what happens. Come Sunday, he'll probably be available. That's like, that's what he does. But
And do we know what he was even out with the first time?
no, because people are saying it's the
No one
hand
actually
thing, but
said.
I don't think it is the hand thing because he played with his broken hand. Um,
Mm,
by all accounts, he's been carrying something. I don't know if it's his ankle or his groin or something like
mm.
that. He's been carrying something a while, and that's also another point to point out with
When's he going to
injuries and
rest?
what injuries and what have you. If you ask any professional footballer, they will tell you, "Well, I'm never 100% fit." Like you're never just you're always carrying something. If you play the amount of games that you do play, I mean, anyone that's ever played football, even a Sunday league level, when you come out of the game, you've always got a knock. You've always got something where you're like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, that hurts." So, let alone at a professional, intense level where you're training every day, playing, twice a week or what have you, you're always carrying something. And sometimes, and that again, that's when you get into the medical side of things and the sports science side of things and the rotational aspect of things when you go, right, how can you get through that? How can you make sure that you can play as many games as possible without making the injury that you've currently got worse? So, yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be looked into and get fixed. And
Imran,
I think
Bruno in the boot plays next day. Remember when he was in the protective
yeah,
fleece?
exactly. But I think the point you make about it being like, it's almost like a never-ending cycle, but it's like a negative cycle in the sense of, like you say, then they're injured or they're not 100% fit, so they maybe don't play as well or they don't run as much in a game. But then because they're not running as much as a game and they're not playing well, you go, right, get into early next day to training. You've got to train even harder because you're not running enough. And then it just carries on and on and on and on and on, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
it
So
is
it isn't just. It is. I will say this. Yeah, it might sound like it's in defense of the players, but what I will say is this, because I don't let them off the hook for anything. You know what I feel about players, but it is. I tell you now, this isn't just the players are moaning because it's too hard. It isn't.
No,
It
it's not a
isn't.
single point of anything,
It's
isn't
not
it?
that. No.
It's not 100% our players are lazy. It's not 100% it's Eric Ten Hag's fault,
Yeah.
It's not
Exactly.
100% the medical team they're just rubbish because at every other club it's fine. It's a combination of everything, which I know sometimes isn't the most satisfactory answer because if it is just one thing, it's easier
It's
to
always
fix.
the truth at Man United.
Then,
That's just Man
yeah.
United as a whole.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
If it was just one single point of failure, then it would be easy to fix because then you go, right, let's get rid of that. let's just
Change just
put money,
one thing.
yeah,
and
let's
we'll
put
be
money into
fixed.
that. But it's not. It's several different things, isn't it, as well? And I think all of those people that are culpable, so whether it is the medical department, whether it's Ten Hag, whether it's coaching staff, whether it's the players, to get over it, they all have to be open to change of like, okay, if someone comes to me and says, we think this is part of the problem here, you've got to change. You've got to change. And if they don't like it, tough shit, basically. If the medical department go, oh, I'm doing nothing wrong, they'd be like, well, okay, we'll find someone else that doesn't, that will do it right, basically, because this can't continue. Like a lot of things at Manchester United, this cannot continue.
Yeah, no, it can't. I will say this: we've got pretty much 1,100 people watching. We've got 300 likes already. I feel that having that in the chat, asking, "Have you liked the video yet? Yes or no?"
The
I
poll
tell you
works.
what, it's working. It is working. Over 1K watching. Let's get to 500 likes, people, says Joe Blackman. Big up Joe Blackman. Big up Tabrez. Big up Kenny Fan TV. Guys, get your super chats in. We'll get them read out. There's usually a super chat of the day as well. And get your members chats in as well, which you get that. You get your perks when you're a member. Use your perks, guys. Use your perks. Get your membership chats in. And of course, your comments, which we're in right now. Jedi Pro says Ten Hag has been given the wrong advice from the medical department. Well, do you know what? Because there was another thing.
That is true. The left back thing. The left back thing.
I was going to say,
yeah,
he did have a little jibe at them, didn't he? That time when he said, "Well, I was told that you could play."
He was asked about Reguilon. He was like, "Why was Reguilon sent back?" And he went, "Because I was told I'd have 2 left backs in January, and I've got 0."
Interesting.
And maybe not so much about the Shaw one because he did come back and then he disappeared, obviously with the injury. But with the Malacia one, that is when you would go like, "What advice was he given that Malacia was going to be back in January? He's not going to play again this season. Like, who's given that advice? Like, that's insane." And
he didn't play one game this season, did he?
No. And again, that's where I do sympathise with Ten Hag with that kind of stuff because people go like, "Oh no, Ten Hag sent Reguilon away," but again, I would really recommend people to go watch the those All or Nothing documentaries because I remember the Spurs one when Jose was the Spurs manager and he wanted Heung-min Son to play a game, and I think Son, ironically enough, had like a broken hand or a broken wrist, and Jose wanted him to play. Son wanted him to play in the game, and the medical, like the head doctor or whatever, just goes, "No, can't play." And then there's nothing the manager could do because they're like, "Well, it's medical advice." So he's like, "Oh." Crap, and if they both had their own way, he would play. Sometimes you would think, oh, the manager would never be dictated to by the head of sports science or the chief doctor, but sometimes they are. If they're told, "No, player can't play," then they're like, "Oh, it's not a lot I can do then, is there?" So I do sympathize for him for that because clearly he was told you'll have 2 left backs, and no, he's got 0.
They're not there. Yeah, they're not there. Tabrez with the first super chat of the day says, "Owen on his way to that North Face sponsorship." Oh well, that North Face sponsorship home for the winter.
He's got a couple of t-shirts. It's a bit warmer. We get to this time of the year where hoodies have to go away, unfortunately. So
they do.
It's what it is.
Jason's Music Lab says, "I've interpreted Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments completely differently. Sounds like he doesn't believe the injuries are even genuine. Have I misunderstood? Reread." We take different things. Well, no, I just think he's just trying to get to the bottom of why it's happened, is how I read it. Interesting you say that, Jason. You see it as like he thinks either players are faking it.
That'd be a lot of injuries to be faked. Even if it was half of them or whatever, that'd be scandalous, wouldn't it? That would be on another level, I think. Yeah, and again, maybe. that would be, I think that would be more accurate if it was a specific to United issue. But the fact that it's a wider football issue, like I said, I think it's more a case of why, okay, this is going on in football. Injuries are prevalent. Why can't we handle them better than anyone else? Why can't we, if we're going to be best in class, elite level, we should have elite people here that are more durable. And when there are injuries, we can fix them quicker. We can prevent them, all that kind of stuff. So I don't look at it as like, I'm investigating this because it's not, because it's not true or anything like that, or they're not genuine. That would be crazy.
Yeah. I just wanted to big up someone in the chat here, actually. I think it was Brian. Yeah, Brian says, "Love listening to you guys. Great conversation. Love from Uganda." So big up to you, by the way, from Uganda. Let us know in the chat, just in general. Want to be nosy, like to see where you guys are watching from. Let us know where you are watching from, actually. Whether it's local, whether it's far. Let us know where you're watching from, man. And another super chat there from Akash says, "Pre-season tours should be one country only." Well, they are. It is one country only. I mean, the tour is where they actually do. Technically, it is. Yeah. But I think the European ones, when they sort of like, we've got to go to Murrayfield, before we go to America, that's not too bad. I mean, the America one this year, I do know from speaking to the club, logistically, it isn't as crazy as it was last year, and definitely not as crazy as it was in Ten Hag's.
I feel like we hear that every year, by the way.
Yeah,
I feel we hear that every year.
But this one actually isn't. This one actually isn't. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Remember when
it's shorter.
It was Louis van Gaal's first season, and he was like turning up to the press conferences like 3 hours late because he was getting stuck in LA traffic, and he was like, "What are we doing it?"
Yeah,
he's like,
too much.
"What are we doing it?" And that is, I remember that was a big.
But that's hard though, because you have to balance that with the commercial
parts of it.
deliverables, which actually, when you're the biggest club in the world, unfortunately, you must have a big operation for your
But
pre-season tour. You must. You
this
have an
is
obligation.
this is where that line, I think Andy Mitten said it, where Ineos said, like, we don't care, it's about winning stuff. You got, if it stops us from winning stuff, then we have to cut back on it. And that's kind of the mindset, because, and again, going not just a Man United thing, but there was a lot of stuff coming into the season, wasn't there, where people looking at the pitches in America going, actually was playing preseason on that because everyone was doing their ACL or doing their MCL, and people are like, well, these knee injuries, were they part of that? Like, everyone's looking for reasons, aren't they? Everyone is looking for reasons why this is happening. And some people said, oh, lots of people had preseason tours in America. Is that part? You start looking at any possible reason for why everyone gets injured.
Yeah. Splashnet says South Norwood. Watching from there. Watching from Uganda as well, says Alvin. From South Africa, says Ninth Earth. Morning, guys, from the States, says A. Bilal. And from the East Coast, in a little restroom break. Oh, interesting, Jim White. Gone to the toilet in the East Coast. Nuruddin says, good morning, guys. I'm watching from Nigeria. Shout out the Nigerians in there. Sunshine Coast, Australia, says Steve Nicholas. Auckland, one day United will come here, says Nikhil. And watching from South Norwood, South London, bro, says Splashnet. And the Isle of Barry. Is that a real place?
Barry Island, is that Wales?
I don't know. I've never heard of
Gavin
it.
and Stacey, isn't it?
Oh, is that where they're from? Okay. Washington says I'm watching from South Africa as well. Australia for Kenny Fan TV. Always see you here, Kenny Fan TV. Didn't know you was from Australia. Big up to you. Troll Potato from Singapore. MA from Manchester. Love from India, says Ankit. Kristen says Kazakhstan. You being serious, Kristen?
On the beaches.
I know you're from England.
On
the beach in Kazakhstan.
On the beaches of Kazakhstan.
8:31 p.m. in New Zealand, says Ryan. And hello from Georgia, says Dave as well. So, and you are sweet once, says they're watching from Mars. So big up to you watching from Mars as well. Love that.
Good signal.
Yeah, exactly. Sunil super chat says, even with injuries, shouldn't be this bad. Eric Ten Hag out. Let's move on a little bit. Let's get into so we've done the injury investigation already. Let's get into the squad being really down in the dumps and being miserable.
On a lighter
note, talk about
yes.
that.
On a lighter note, yes, the Manchester United squad reportedly are miserable. And again, this comes from a report from David McDonald from the Mirror, saying Manchester United's beleaguered players fear they may not win another game this season. Morale and confidence is so low among Eric Ten Hag's squad that there is a feeling among many of the players that their season could be all but over. All but over. Basically is. But he concludes by saying one United insider described the mood among United's squad as, quote, miserable, with many of the players convinced Ten Hag will be on his way this summer after such a dismal season. Thomas Tuchel and Gareth Southgate are the leading contenders to replace Ten Hag if, as expected, Sir Jim Ratcliffe as expected, Sir Jim and Ratcliffe and his football operations team decide they must replace him. There's lots of different things from that I thought was quite curious. The season may be all but over, and you go, well, it kind of is. I mean,
it's a polite way of saying it, because there is still a final. So
the FA Cup and all that. So I go, okay, I kind of get that. But whenever you get these articles that are the morale in the squad's miserable, you just go, well, so are the fans.
The whole mood of the club.
Who isn't at the moment miserable? Because we're rubbish. We're not winning games. We play some absolutely shocking football. Every single game you go into it with an element of dread, and even what the worst thing about Monday was, and this was one of the first times I've noticed this, because I noticed this on the pre-match as well. I always put a poll in the pre-match and I say, like, oh, what's your prediction today? And most of regardless of who you play, it's always like 80% Man United, 90% Man United, that we're going to win. There's some ops in there, so that's why it's not 100%. But like on Monday, it was like 60-40 Man United win. Like most people,
we knew.
And I think and again, that's with heart. So I think a lot of people with head was going into that game like, we're going to lose, and then we did, and it was like, oh, and
we lost in an even worse fashion than we thought we actually might. Thought we might lose like 2-1 or eventually lose, but not what that was. That was
exactly.
That was Watford. Last game, Ollie.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, everyone's miserable. at the moment. And I mean, we mentioned it like a week or so ago, wouldn't we, about will we win another game this season?
They feel like they won't as well.
if they don't feel that they're going to win, then what's going to happen? Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, it's look, at the end of the day, we don't need really a report to tell us that they feel miserable and hard done by, because we're seeing that in the performances.
Yeah.
We can literally tell that they're down in the dumps and their confidence is absolutely gone. Injuries or no injuries, like the way they take the ball, the way they try to play, the way they play for each other, the way they run, the tackles that they don't make, the lack of concentration. It's almost like a combination of injuries and an acceptance, which should never happen, by the way. That's our point. You play for Man United, and I'm just looking in that picture there, just from a freeze frame that I got from when you put the quotes up of Eriksen, Dalot, and Evans. Just that despair, just walking on. Just you're just done. You're effed. Like, you're finished. And far too many times we've seen that this season. Just
look at the way they clapped the fans at the end.
Yeah,
it was this sort of like
out of embarrassment.
Yeah, like, oh, sorry, like, and it's almost like they were standing there waiting for the pushback from the fans.
Yeah,
and the fans
it didn't come,
and the fans
which made it worse for them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was pity. It was pity. It was, what I mean? It was pity. Yeah, and he's sort of. It's a weird one, that article, because the more you think about it, you go, "Is this revelatory information? They're miserable."
Well, the bit where he said, "Yeah, that bit isn't," but look, it's something really small from David McDonald, but that bit of as expected. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying because David McDonald from the Mirror says it, we go, that is a here we go. That is a breaking news with the siren alert from David Ornstein, because then your ears prick up and you actually listen. I'm not discrediting David McDonald, but it is interesting, is the word I'd use. It is interesting that he said, as expected, because they're expected to, part ways. That you look at that, and I don't know. I still don't know where I'm at with it to bring it to the manager, just because we naturally go there. It's like, because, like this guy saying they're expected to get rid of him. So that's why we're talking about it, because it's there. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the lack of suitors and stuff, I feel like he might stay just because of like I said, there's so much change and got to change everything. And out of this, and this manager, who do we think who's available can most do what we want them to do? We don't think it would be Gareth Southgate. No, take him out. We don't think it's De Zerbi. Take him out. We don't think it's Potter. Or do they think, we do think Potter over Ten Hag? Yeah, we do actually think he could do it. Or we do actually think Thomas Tuchel. Or do they go, let's just wait and see? I'm just fluttering between the two. I mean, what they would think.
To put it, and again, because this isn't the first article we've seen like this, where it's like, the players, they're down and they think, or they're starting to think, because I think it was Matt Law from the Telegraph said something the day after,
he's been going in,
when he was like, the players don't expect Ten Hag to be here next season. And you go, well, okay, some fans don't expect Ten Hag to be here next season, or some fans don't know, whatever. But that's still, from a player point of view, that's still no excuse to be like, well, we don't think he's going to be here. We're unhappy. We don't think we're going to win a game for the rest of the season. You go, well, it doesn't really matter if Ten Hag's going to be here next season. Like, you should still be putting in more of a performance than you are. You should still be trying harder than you are, because that was the thing on Monday, wasn't it? It was like, okay, with the injuries and all that, I get it. One fit centre back, but the sheer lack of effort at points from that team was just disgusting to watch. It really, really was. And even if you think that Erik ten Hag's lost the dressing room, or you think he's a dead man walking, or you think that he's going to be replaced, that should be by the by. You should still be putting in this shift that you're not putting in, clearly. And that was the real concern after Monday, wasn't it? Of like, it felt like that was the first time that maybe these players weren't putting everything on the line for Ten Hag like they were previously just a couple of weeks ago. And that's when then these reports come out and line up, and you go, well, actually, that performance does feel like a group of players that don't think the manager's going to be here next season, so they've checked out, which again is really disappointing, which is also why a lot of these players shouldn't be here in the future, because that kind of behavior, irrespective of results, is completely unacceptable. So I think, like you said, with the manager thing, with what David McDonald was saying, I mean, you never know, do you? I mean, he's saying, I think it's one of those ones where he's like, well, they're miserable. They don't think he's going to be here. So because they don't think he's going to be here, as expected,
it's expected
that
from
he's
them.
going to get rid. Yeah. But you have to be careful when you talk in generalized statements like that. That might be a handful of players. There might be some. I mean, I'm sure there are still people in that squad that are big believers in Ten Hag and think and hope he is going to be here next season. I think the answer is what we've been saying a lot recently, which is no one really knows, apart from a handful of people within Ineos. And that handful of people, you could probably count them on one hand, which is like Sir Jim, Sir Dave Brailsford, Jean-Claude Blanc, and even their sort of thought processes allegedly isn't going to be what determines it all, because they want to delegate it to Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox. So if Ineos's track record so far at Manchester United, which is a small one, but if there's anything to go by, then that decision, it's not going to leak out, really, is it? So people are guessing. People are doing a lot of guesswork at the moment, which leads to stuff like this. But yeah, the thing about them being miserable, who isn't?
Exactly.
who isn't at the moment?
Exactly.
Do you want a bit of something positive though to recover from that? I'll give something a bit positive. It came out yesterday. There you go. It's the picture of them both smiling in Manchester United training. Lisandro Martinez, Mertens, and Rashford. Mertens and Rashford are back in training. United released a statement yesterday saying, "Welcome back, lads. Martinez, Rashford have returned to training." Obviously, we'll find out later today in Erik ten Hag's press conference how available they're going to be for Sunday's game against Arsenal at Old Trafford. But now, maybe not so much with Rashford, because he hasn't been out for very long. He's been out since Coventry, hasn't he? What was that, 2-3 weeks ago? Yeah. But with the Martinez one, what would you do if you were Erik ten Hag thinking towards Sunday?
I'm gonna stick to what I said a few shows ago. I think we spoke about this, about how to sort of bed these players back. I'm looking at the cup final and I'm saying I need as many individuals on that pitch as possible, right? Of the starting team. In terms of match fitness and rhythm, there's only 3 games left and then it's the final. So that's gone out the window. There's no ideal. The ideal situation would have been, they've played for months and weeks going into that and it's fine. We don't have that luxury. So you have to cross that off. I'm very solutions-based, right? We can't do that. Let's go to the next thing of what is possible. However much minutes we can get in the tank of those players like Luke Shaw and Martinez in particular, because they're the long-term ones. Rashford should be all right if you put him back in. You just start playing again. Varane, still got to be careful with him, but it's not like there's loads of games. There's 3 games left, and straight after Sunday, the next one's Wednesday. So, and then the next one again is Brighton. It's really quick. So you can't play Varane in any kind of like 3 of them. Maybe you play him in like the last one against Brighton. And then there's a big gap, a whole week, isn't there, from the Brighton to the actual final.
It's a build up, yeah.
So you just got to manage the players you got. So to answer your question, for Leacher, my thing is this. I wouldn't wrap him in cotton wool until the final and let the first time he's even touched the ball be at Wembley, because you're just asking for trouble. We're already asking for trouble because he's been out the whole season. You need to give him a little bit of grace. So in these next 3 games, if he's back in training, I think Erik will say he can be selected. I think you put him on the bench. Depends how the game goes. It really does. But I just think you try and agree with, regardless of whatever the result is, you still get 15, 20 minutes in his legs. Get 15. If you can do a half, great. Start him and take him off at halftime, either whether we're winning 2-0, losing 5-0, whatever. Just get minutes in, manage the minutes. Then again on Wednesday night, again, keep him on the bench if you have to. Give him 20 minutes, get him off, or bring him on for 20 minutes, whatever you need to do. Then again at Brighton, give him... You can say that, but the team, we're not trying to build anything. It's over. That's my whole point. Like, continuity, we're not trying to build continuity. This is actually going against what the normal principles would be in normal football, which is the team is bigger than the individuals. No, right now, for the next few weeks to get to the final, the individuals are bigger than the team goal. The team goal's done. We're finished. We're in the mud. Like, we can't get a consistent back 4. We can't just get these players, not even enough games to do anything. It's over. It's all about the cup final. So what can you do to get players ready to get the strongest team possible on the pitch at Wembley. And for me, that is putting the individuals on their personal plans to say, I need you to get this much minutes in the tank. Luke Shaw needs you to get this much. Varane, I need you to get this much. Bruno will be fine. He'll get back. And Rashford is Rashford, so he'll be back. But Leacher and Varane and Shaw, we just got to get minutes in the tank. So if he's fit enough to start, if Eric thinks he's fit enough to start, which I don't think he will, but if you think he is,
I mean,
if you think he is,
if we've still got Tetap up with Johnny Evans, and even again, he didn't even pass a fitness test Monday. He played.
Yeah,
like
then you got to play them both.
Eric might be like
Casemiro again at centre back.
Exactly. He might be like, look, go. But then, to your point, if we truly have nothing to play for, then maybe you can play Casemiro at centre back because you're like, well, the future match is more important. It's almost like the next 4 games, or how many there's left? Is it 3? 3 matches.
3.
They're almost like pre-season. They're pre-season
Owen.
For the first game of the season, which is the last game of the season. So it's almost like, okay, Leach is back. We want to get him to a point where he's fully fit or close to as fully fit as he can be for that final. Now, that doesn't happen by him not playing until the final because you need games. You need match rhythm. So what do? How many minutes have we earmarked him for all of these 3 matches? Does he start here and then maybe he comes off on a certain time here? Does he come on a certain?
There's got to be a plan for that.
Exactly. For that. Yeah, and also for a lot of the players that are sort of on the fringes of being fit or not fit at the moment, like I said, Shaw, Varane, you go, okay, what do we do? Like you said, there can't be just this sort of blindness of, well, we'll try and get some minutes before the final. You go, no, how many minutes?
No.
How can we be sure that they can start in that final and they can be ready to go and they're at least close to being as ready to go as they possibly can? Because in the case of like a Martinez, he's missed a lot of football this season. In the case of Varane, sometimes he can take a few games to get going, because that's also part of it as well. And that's why I push back on the idea of, no, they can't play until the final, because sometimes when you have been out of an injury, you don't just come back in and you're good. Sometimes it can be like 3 games or even longer. Sometimes it can be months until you're like, right, I feel like I'm ready to
back.
Go. I'm ready. I'm now I'm back where I need to be. Like, it doesn't happen immediately. So the idea that, Leach could just be back for the final play and he'd be Martinez like he was last season, very, very unlikely. He needs to be built up.
And all of this, Owen, and all of this is, listen, Leacher and Luke Shaw are not going to be match fit, even for the final. They're not. Because there's not enough games. There's not enough games.
Like 16 days, isn't it? Or
something
like that,
that's what I'm saying.
Like
so basically 2 weeks, and there's 3 games in that time. And they can't, and with how long they've been out for, they can't participate in them games for long enough and they can't recover long enough to get into the groove. So that's what I'm saying. In terms of them being match fit to the top level to be able to play against City, it can't happen. But I tell you one thing, what we do know is the players that play instead of them, because of it's no better. Like, so Wan-Bissaka is match fit, yes or no? Yes, he is. But him playing left back can't happen. Casemiro is match fit. He's been back a while. Look at him. Like, whether it's centre mid and obviously centre back. Harry Maguire's now out for 3 weeks, or he's touching both the final.
And his hopes to get back.
So what you could say, exactly what I'm saying. So now it's almost like, in a weird way, because of the injuries been so shit, Leach has leapfrogged Harry Maguire with a better chance of being fit for the final. Luke Shaw's leapfrogged Harry Maguire, even though he's been out most of the season, with a better chance of playing in the final than Harry Maguire. So this thing of like, let's just don't play them basically because they're not ready. Well, the players that would play instead of them are no more ready than them. They are in terms of fitness because they've been playing, but in terms of performance level and what they're going to offer by playing instead, for me, you're better off just trying to... Lindelof's been out for ages as well. What are you going to do? Just throw him in against Haaland? It's the same difference. Varane has played more, don't get me wrong, but he's always injured. So there's none of them that are like 100% good going into this.
Yeah. And also, we need to be aware and weary of doing the thing that we always do with this, of like, we'll get Leach back, we'll beat Man City. You know what I mean? We get Leach back, it will solve all of our problems. Of course, Lisandro Martinez is important to how Erik ten Hag wants to play. He's our best ball-playing defender that we've got. He can carry the ball out of defense. He's got a tenacity that unfortunately just a lot of the Man United players don't have, which is maybe a big problem this season when you look at mentality and what have you. But at the same time, even if we've got like a fully fit Martinez, we've still got big problems. We still like our tactical setup is still massively flawed with or without Lisandro Martinez. Is it better with him? Of course it is. But at the same time, what we don't want to do is, as you say, rushing back of, he has to play every game between now and 90 minutes in all of these games between now and Man City. Why? Because he's the most important player, and he can. If we don't have him, we're going to completely fall apart. You go. We've got to think long term. We've got to manage him back effectively. Hope that he can be in a good position for the final because we'll be better with him. But we're not fixed with him. We are still fundamentally flawed with or without him as well. So yes, having the better players back, we will play better. But at the same time, we need to sort of manage the fact that it's not going to completely fix us. Like, we have problems, big problems. Flex.
Big trouble.
Yes,
exactly. Big problems, and that is the truth of the matter of it. It really is. We've got huge problems, and we can't. Right now there's one big game left. It's the cup final. Okay, of course. Listen, we do not want to lose embarrassingly to Arsenal. Then we don't want to lose embarrassingly again to Newcastle straight away, and then again against Brighton. I get that, but look, the reality is, look at us. We were expecting it. We are it's no good. It's not good prep for a final, by the way. I know that, but this is the situation we're in. This is the situation we find ourselves in. We have to just wake up and smell the coffee. There's no point trying to dance around it or dress it up. Like the reality of it is, and this is where like a Marcel way of thinking or something, like, guys, the pain's good. We know this. That's why against Palace, it was laughing by this point. It's like, you know what I mean? So look, it will hurt a lot when it's Arsenal who do it to us. If it's Arsenal, it will hurt a lot when, Isak, smashing us for 2, 3s and 4s and they're all over us. And maybe them things won't happen. Maybe the team could surprise us. I don't know. They're at Old Trafford, these games. Who knows?
But have you compartmentalized it? Because I'm going to be honest, I haven't given Arsenal as much thought as I probably usually would, and I think that's by design. I'm just kind of locking it
peak.
Off. Yeah,
it's really peak. The only thing we can hope for is to be stuck. The only thing we can hope for is, like, when we're sitting in our seats, wherever you may be watching a game from, is to be sitting in your seat and be stunned with what you're seeing for the positive. Like, that's like, oh my God, Arsenal are making so many mistakes. Oh my God, Arsenal are open on the counter-attack. Oh my God, Arsenal keep missing. Oh my God, we're actually doing all right. We're keeping.
Or like when we played Liverpool this season at home, like with those two games where you go, actually, like, they've sort of dominated the game at points, but we're still in it.
We're still in it.
Yeah. This is.
But because if Arsenal do what we think they're going to do, which is how they have been in all their games, we're in massive trouble. Huge trouble. There can be no other outcome. But at the same time, this team's mad. And at Old Trafford, when we should get an absolute pasting sometimes of team X or Y, sometimes we don't. Liverpool should have absolutely destroyed us in that first half. They were 1-0 up by halftime. It should have been 3 or 4. And we all sat there. Well, I can't speak for everyone. I sat in my seat at halftime looking at it going, it's in the second half, they're just going to come out. They will get the second fairly quickly. Then all of a sudden, Joao Quansah just passed it to Bruno, and Bruno does a worldie. Yeah. Then the game changed. Then the crowd was up. Then we're on them. Then we got a corner. Kelly had to save it quickly. And I'm like, hang on a minute, there's something in this. Then Cobby does that top bins. And if it wasn't for the penalty, we would have come out with a ridiculous win against Liverpool. So football's football. You can't say that, it's impossible. But with this version of Arsenal, man, we're in a lot of trouble in this game. Especially because we don't know who's fit. I can't wait for this presser. I need to know.
Yeah.
Who's back?
And also, I know because Arsenal's record at Old Trafford isn't very good, right?
Yeah,
so that's something we hold on to. But at the same time, it's like those kind of records have been just completely redundant this season. Like
every single record we're breaking.
Palace never done the double on us till Monday. We've lost. What's our record? I think we've traveled to London. Games. I don't think we've gone to London this season 5 times and haven't won. all of these records, like they just, and ultimately, positive or negative, those records are completely meaningless, aren't they? Because it's about what happens on the day in the 90 minutes. That's the result that matters. So, yeah, I've kind of just, a penny just dropped a few minutes ago. Like, I just haven't been thinking about it. I've not allowed my brain to go there.
Just
that much.
don't get involved. Well, I have, because I've been doing the preview with all of them. Yesterday, I got rinsed on DR, rinsed on What the Devil, I've done a preview of Robbie that's coming out. A lot of content coming out for you guys tomorrow as well. And shout out the guys on What the Devil and Cessna Turkish. If you haven't seen it, the episode's done really well. A lot of people enjoyed it. Check it out. It is up on the channel already. Tomorrow, in the morning, we'll have a preview with Robbie, 9 a.m. That is a good show. Me and Robbie did that. Good 20 minutes. Good deep dive. And then the third video that we've done, which will come out at 6 p.m. tomorrow, is with James from AFTV, and that was more of a serious video in terms of I wanted to explore this Arteta comparison thing, whereby a lot of people in our fan base are like drawing comparisons with giving Arteta time. And I wanted to take the banter aside and all the laughs and the jokes and actually get into this topic of what are the similarities, what are the differences, and what does it mean? So, I think you guys will really enjoy that video on a serious note as well, which is really good. So loads of content coming for you. But in terms of where we're at, it's just, I don't know. We're in big trouble. What I will say, though, I tell you what, guys, we've got nearly 600 likes. And I have to say, by putting that in the poll, that has made a huge difference.
A gentle reminder.
Gentle reminder. So big up to everybody who has liked the video. If you haven't seen the poll, because 71% of you said, yes, I have liked the video, and 29% of you are doing it now, please do smash a like on the video. And before we go, the pressers today, what are you expecting? Like, just from Ten Hag, how bullish would he be? The media, would they be putting it on him? Obviously, in terms of injuries, who do you think will be back as well? Do you think we could see like one that we didn't really hear of before, like a Varane, or I don't know?
Maybe Varane, because by all accounts, there were rumours that he had a fitness test before Palace, wasn't it? But
because they've not made much.
No, they haven't announced that. But then sometimes they don't.
They don't always do that.
Sometimes they don't do that. And Varane's sometimes on a different program to other people because of his fitness record.
Yeah.
So maybe his thing might be, oh yeah, he's back today in training, or he's going to be back tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
What am I expecting? It'll be more of the same, really. They'll ask him, about the fallout of the Palace game. They'll ask him about injuries. They'll ask him maybe about his future and work. Have you had talks with Ineos? And he'll say that, we're aligned. I talk to him every day, etc., etc., etc. He'll talk about, again, the injury record this season and what have you. It'll be largely the same. And that will mean that people will be either angry or, and this is when I sort of go, like, these kind of press conferences, you do have to take them with a pinch of salt, because he's going to get peppered and he's just got to defend himself today, really. And regardless of what he says, people have made their mind up about it. So, yeah, I think more so team news. Team news will be probably the biggest.
That's the biggest. That's why I just want the press to hurry up, because it's like I'm already fearing the worst for this game. But if we have to roll out Casemiro and Evans against the centre half, like, it's over.
Yeah,
it's over. Yeah. Like, I know it's kind of over already, but that's even like that's a field day settings. That's like it could be a really, really bad day. Really bad day. And Bruno as well. Like, can we get a little? Yep, he's back in training today, so we'll see how he is. I really hope he says that, because as we see with the fan base, we're better without player X. We're better without player Y. That might be the case in the long run when the team all changes, but right now we're not better without Bruno Fernandes.
Right now we just need everyone, don't we? We need as many people
everyone there. We actually need name brand. We just need name brand people to be there.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's what it is. So yeah, guys, thank you for liking the video. Record numbers for the likes. Well done, guys. And we'll see you again.
A rare occasion, by the way. The poll got less votes than the likes, which is where it should be.
Yeah, which is the way exactly. Just by putting the poll as "Have you liked it?" So yeah, big up. We'll see you later on today for the presser. We'll be covering that live with big anticipation, because we really need to know who's back. Please let Bruno be back. Anyway, guys, take care. See you in a bit. Peace.